Skip ahead. So what this slide is here, and I don't expect you to be able to read all of this, but I just wanted to give you an indication. This is a direct shot from our website, so www.porthawkesburypaper.com. And this presentation can be handed out to council too, so you can find all the information if you want to read it more closely. And what we've done in terms of our forestry side of things under the sustainability tab is we've populated it with quite a bit of new and interesting information. So, you know, you can see that there's some quick facts and figures in terms of, you know, our forest management, economic contributions, and so on and so forth. We have an annual monitoring report on all the different ecological values and whatnot that we manage for, and there's a whole host of other information in there. And so these sort of things have been available for a while, but one of the things that is new under the sustainability tab, the next slide, is we have a new inquiries and complaints system, and I encourage you to you know, make sure your constituents know, or if you have any concerns yourselves or people within your neighborhoods. If you go to the website, put a name in, your contact information, and so on and so forth, and go through, and then that information comes directly to us, and then you know, we will reach out to whoever it is who has a concern or complaint. And so there's the process behind that. We'll go to the next slide. Is we have a series of, you know, depending on the nature of the call. So if somebody just simply has a general question, then, you know, we kind of go through this tree. You know, was it addressed or closed? And then we have a process for all the way through, whether it's worker rights, statutory or common law, indigenous rights, forest management planning, or dispute of substantial magnitude. So if there's something like really egregious that was happening that you saw out there, and then we have a process where we can put a stop work order in place. And so when it comes to disputes, another thing that we have as part of that process is the first step is we're willing to engage with communities and come up with a resolution process that is created jointly. So if there's a way in which you want to deal with these issues, if you have a preferred means of doing that, in particular, I guess it is more relevant to Aboriginal communities where it can be, the structure can be a little bit different. We have that opportunity in place. And failing that, we have an actual specific protocol in place that can be followed as well. So, next slide. And so similar to this, we also have in something that we're working on, which is culturally appropriate engagement with First Nations, local communities, and other stakeholders. And so the same, and I don't expect you to be able to read all of this. We're going to be going out to local communities a little bit more, and this has a lot to do with our FSC forest certification, and we want to engage with communities and try to learn from you, and like, what are some of the special values or special sites or even economic opportunities that are available that we can incorporate into our management planning, and how can we work more with the communities. And again, similar to our dispute resolution process, we're willing to design a system, you know, with any interested stakeholders, and in the absence of that, we have a ready-made system in place that can be followed. And with that, so, you know, having meetings like this and getting this information out to people is one part of it, and we're also in the middle of creating an online survey which people can fill out, and that'll help sort of guide our management activities. You know, so is there, you know, more of an interest in protected areas or recreational areas or commercial forestry or a combination of things. And we just, you know, we've always considered ourselves a sort of an economic driver and pillar in our surrounding communities, and we're more than willing to work with other folks to, you know, foster any opportunities that are out there. And I think I don't want to, like I said, I just wanted to make sure that you're aware of this process. I don't know if I have, try one more slide. Nope, that was it for me. So on that note of economic prosperity, I guess that's a good segue to hand over to Alan. But actually, just briefly before I do, are there any questions on that process? I realize I went a little bit fast with it, but I want to make sure that Alan has enough time.
We're good. Thank you very much. Thank you for that, Andrew.
There, I think I'm live there now, Gordon. Well, and again, I echo Andrew's thanks for having us here this evening, and just wanted to take a few minutes to give you an update on our wind project. I'm sure many of you are already aware that Port Hawkesbury Paper has been investigating the development of a major wind farm here for the last couple of years, and some of the details I'll share this morning or this afternoon will show that I think we're moving down the path. Could we have the next slide, please? And I guess, you know, we all lived through the COVID year, and hopefully here today we're talking about phase 5, which is living with COVID, and we're hoping that's behind us. And as Andrew said, it's just so great to be able to not be on a Zoom meeting for a change and actually be out in person and interacting with folks. But so with that behind us and moving forward, we're looking to bigger and better things, and in particular recognizing that I think all of Nova Scotia is very interested in a greener, more sustainable economy, and certainly trying to support the switch to green power. And so we want to be part of it. Andrew talked about the fact that Port Hawkesbury Paper sees itself very much as an economic engine for eastern Nova Scotia. And so we see ourselves being able to contribute not just only to the recovery from COVID, but also to the subsequent growth of the economy. If we could have the next slide, please. So we have a whole new company now called Port Hawkesbury Paper Wind. It's been incorporated. It's a separate standalone company to develop and pursue this project. But of course, anything that's new is usually built on the strength of what's come before it, and we just take an opportunity to quickly review some of those things about the strength of Port Hawkesbury Paper since the restart in 2012. Probably of interest to anybody that's in a municipal or government role is tax revenues, and you can see there $27 million annually. PHP has spent $1.7 billion since 2012. That's a very significant amount of money, and that doesn't include employee wages. And of course, as Andrew is front and center on, you know, all of that base business is based on sustainable forest management, and that's guaranteed by our third-party certifications. Next slide, please. Again, the energy story, probably not new to any of you here, and how, because we're a thermomechanical mill, not a chemical mill, that, you know, energy is fundamental to what we do. In some ways it's existential to the business in terms of costs. So anything we can do around energy is very important to the long-term sustainability of the business itself. But we represent 10% of all the power that's on the grid. So the extent that we can contribute to greening that grid is a significant contribution in terms of the impact around climate change and our carbon footprint and other such things. Just point out that, again, most of you probably are well aware of the new tariff that was put in place about a year and a half ago, and basically under that tariff, Nova Scotia Power, we handed over the keys of the mill to Nova Scotia Power. They tell us when we can run to match to allow them largely to balance the existing wind on the system, because as you know, wind isn't consistent. It comes up and it goes down, and they need when they have a lot of load, they got to have somewhere to send it to if the wind isn't there. So that's a role that Port Hawkesbury Paper took. But interestingly, in that whole place, it was set up as we always try to do, as a win-win-win. There was money in this for Nova Scotia Power. There was money in that deal for Port Hawkesbury Paper, and most importantly, there was money for the rate base. In total, when it was approved by the UARB, it was anticipated there would be about $6 million benefit, and after year one, in fact, the number was $7.3 million. So again, a major benefit, and we want to just build on those kinds of things as we move into more strongly into the green energy realm. Next slide, please. Again, something that we all see all the time, everybody's looking to move to that low carbon economy, whether it's the federal government, provincial government, municipal government, everybody's looking for ways to get our carbon footprint down, get to a more circular economy. What are the kinds of things that we can do? So there are many different innovations going on in our business that are contributing to this, but you know, one of the more obvious ones is in fact this thrust of green power, and we've been very pleased with the reception we've had. These projects are, they don't just happen overnight. They take time to develop, and we've been probably working on this one for about 2.5 years, but really in the last 18 months, it's been picking up steam. And we've been trying to keep folks apprised of, so it doesn't come as a surprise to anybody, and there's lots of time to talk up front about issues and other things, but very pleased with the level of understanding of that project and the pickup by local press that are helping spread that news for folks. Next slide, please. So what's actually happening out there? Back as of January, we had 2 Met towers erected, and these are 60-meter towers. In the slide on your right there, you can see one of the towers that has 3 different sets of instrumentation that are picking up various bits of weather data, whether it's the actual wind speed, relative humidity, a number of different things that are gathered there. In the wind power world, you need at least 12 months of on-site wind data before you can go to the commercial lenders and say, let's talk about financing a project like this. And so we're almost 8 months into that process, and we're very pleased with what we're seeing so far. One of the things about this wind gathering piece, it's generally not so much to say that there is enough wind there for a project, because the metadata that they've gathered in the Wind Atlas usually it's pretty good and sophisticated. There's a long history of it now, so that if you do the desk audit and determine that's a good site, chances are it's a good site. This is as much about what kind of wind is there and how do you take advantage of it. What size turbines do you use? How tall do the towers have to be? Where should they be placed? And what kind of power will they generate? So once you get to the stage of measuring the wind, it's not so much about is there enough wind there, it's how would you best utilize that wind to get the best economic return from your project. And so, as I say, we're about 8 months into that, and quite pleased with the results to this point. Next slide, please. So, as I said before, we have a limited company set up, and here are some, there's been some real tangible progress. I don't know if it's correct to say anymore, but I used to say talk's cheap, takes money to buy rum. So you want to see you want to see something happening, and I think you can see here that there are some real things doing. One of the pieces, and we've been talking about this since we started. We've been working with the Canadian Infrastructure Bank, which of course is a federal organization that's charged with helping move forward green projects. They have been very supportive and very interested in our project, and as recently as last week, we had a senior representative of the bank on site and toured them to our Met towers and our business and had a chat. And so that's an important piece of how this goes forward. It's important to know that that's not about grants. They're not going. It's not a grant. They are a lending institution. It's just that their job is to help facilitate the financing in a way that de-risks some of these projects and makes it more possible for them to move ahead more quickly. I already said about the limited partnership, but we've also hired a full-time technical director, an individual with 30 years in the utility business and spent the last 7 or 8 years as a consultant developing wind farms around Atlantic Canada. So we have some real horsepower inside the organization now to help drive this project forward. As part of the due diligence phase, Port Hawkesbury Paper Wind will have contracted or spent over $1 million to the end of this fiscal year. So again, I think you can see that's not just talk anymore. That's a pretty significant piece of change on the table to make things happen. And so, what's involved in that? We have started the environmental assessment work. So earlier this spring, because you need a couple of spring and fall, we didn't want to miss the spring season, so we had let a contract to get the migratory birds and nesting birds work done that has to happen between April and July, and then towards the end of June we let the rest of the contract, so the full piece of the EA work that needs to be done for a Class 1 assessment here in Nova Scotia is currently underway, and again we're fairly well down the path on gathering that data. Obviously, working with both the federal government and the Aboriginal community is very important in a project like this. And I think, again, building on the strength of Port Hawkesbury Paper, Port Hawkesbury Paper Wind has a lot to lean on there. We have, since the restart, been very engaged with the Aboriginal community and on a number of issues, and we continue to work down those paths to help engage them in a very meaningful way on this project. Just a little factoid, how significant is this project? Well, when completed, right now we're looking at it somewhere between 115 and 150 megawatts. The largest existing wind farm in the province is South Canoe, South Canoe, and it's 100 megawatts. So this would be the largest wind project in Nova Scotia when built. And how significant is this on the premise that a rising tide floats all boats? A development of this nature is in the order of $200 million. By the time you're all said and done, obviously some of that is, a significant piece of that is in purchasing turbines and towers that may not be locally, probably aren't, but a very significant piece about that is local labor and support and expertise to put that together. For instance, the environmental assessment work is being done by a Nova Scotia company. So that, this is money that's going to flow into it. And I can share with you that in addition to the wind farm, we are seriously considering storage. As you know, in today's world, that's the next frontier, and everybody is very interested in, because wind is an intermittent energy source, how do you levelize that? And there are various storage techniques, and so we are looking at that. And a project of that nature could easily be another $100 to $200 million if it goes ahead. So I think this bodes very well for our catchment area and employment and impacts on it. So with that, I thank you, and I'll just stand by if there are any questions.
Thank you very much. Very good. Very interesting. I think we will open it to questions while we have the opportunity, and perhaps start with Councillor Patterson. And just a reminder to turn your mic on, please.
I remember it this time. Thank you, gentlemen, for your presentation. To be quite honest with you, when I saw Port Hawkesbury Paper on the agenda, are they still around? Because I haven't heard anything. Or, a few years ago there was a great hullabaloo about Port Hawkesbury Paper, but I guess you've been quietly and efficiently doing your work. Just a very simple technical question: how many units, windmill units, would there be?
Councillor Patterson, that kind of depends on where it lands up, but whether it's the 115 or the 150.
Okay, yeah.
But notionally, when we first started talking about this, we were talking about 28 4-megawatt machines.
Okay.
So 4 megawatts is an established standard machine that's out there in the industry. Since we started talking about this, now there are 5 and 6 megawatt machines. So depending what the technical analysis comes out with, you could have more or less, but I would say in general the farm is probably going to be somewhere between 28 and 34 towers.
I haven't seen the one you said, the South Canoe one, but I have seen the one at Amherst.
Yes.
And how many units do they have? I forget now.
Don't know.
They would have less probably power too.
Yeah, I don't know offhand, but having driven by there, I'm just trying to get things. I'm betting that they're probably in the order of 15, 16 machines in that area, but I can't. And again, I think you'll find that because that's an older farm, those are probably 1.5 megawatt machines, so they may have a larger number to build up to their.
And most of your presentation was on the wind farm and so on.
Yep.
You're still in the paper business?
Absolutely.
Okay,
and perhaps I should have explained that in my introduction, is that, as Andrew said, I'm the business development manager with Port Hawkesbury Paper, but I'm not really focused on our core business, which is the paper business, but I can answer some questions if you have questions about that today. My focus is really about trying to bring in additional economic activity around the business, and so green power is one of those.
It's still there. then?
Paper plant's still there, that's what paid the $1.7 billion, and quite frankly, if there wasn't a very, strong business there, it would be very difficult to contemplate a project of this magnitude.
Okay, one final question. How many or what percentage of your harvesters would be in Victoria County? Just, yeah. But there's still a presence though. Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah, good. Well, thank you very much, and
Thank you,
much
Councillor.
success
Deputy
with
Warden.
this project, I hope. Thank you.
Deputy Warden, any questions or comments?
Yeah, thanks very much. Excellent presentation. Good to see it, and good to know things are going well with Port Hawkesbury Paper. You're definitely one of the big employers in the area. So, one question: why did you decide on Guysborough? I wonder, to be the location. Was there a reason for that?
I can't give you a definitive answer on that because I kind of came in after that had been done. But I referred earlier to the metadata, which is the wind atlas that did it. And so when the project actually was first brought to us by another developer who, again, we had a press release, I think about a year ago, indicated that it was IFE Canada, and they had, with COVID and everything else, they had kind of left the project. But it was their original work that had identified that area as a particularly opportune spot for it.
Okay. So there was no incentives or anything from the county or stuff like that?
Absolutely not. It really was about where was the physical area that would be best suited for a project of this size.
Okay. No, that's excellent, and congratulations, and definitely on the forefront of green energy, so it's great to see. Appreciate it. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
No.
Yes, thank you, Warden. Thank you, gentlemen. Great presentation, lots of numbers and figures there. I was wondering if possibly we could have that sent to us by email. I'd like to read up on that. And,
Yeah, there's no trouble at all. I gave Steph a copy, so she can. You're more than welcome to share it around.
That'd be great. And the only question I have, you said earlier, the largest wind farm presently is, I didn't catch where.
My understanding is that the largest wind farm in Nova Scotia today is the wind farm at South Canoe, and it's 100 megawatts.
100 megawatts. Huh?
Yeah.
If this projection goes ahead, it could be up to 150, is that?
This could be as big as 150, most likely in the 130 range.
Great. Thank you.
Councillor McNeil.
Well, thank you, Alan and Andrew, and it's good to see that forum finally up and going on the website, and I know there hasn't been a lot of complaints about the activity in the last couple of years, but probably about 3 or 4 years ago there was some questions being asked about the road, your people taking wood off the land and leaving the road conditions not the way they found them. So, but I haven't heard of any in the past 3 years. But and Alan, it's good to see this project and your commitment to actually all of Cape Breton and Eastern Nova Scotia. So, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor MacLeod.
Thank you for the presentation. Hi, Andrew.
It's good to see you.
Nice to see you. No, it's just very informative. Only that I didn't catch, maybe you didn't say, when you expect the wind farm will be running?
Ideally, the farm we would see first power in early 2024.
Okay.
We would like to. If you asked my boss that, he would say yesterday.
Yes.
These things, there's a timeline associated with them, putting them in place,
Exactly.
and getting, there's a number of studies that have to work with the utility and
course.
other pieces. But I think without being overly, it's still an aggressive table to get it in early 2024, but it is reasonable.
Yeah, I understand. It's just to see how, how time you're looking for. Thank you.
Thanks a lot for your presentation, and I just wanted to say, I guess that you do have a big impact on the environment, and it's great to hear that you're making green power and reducing the carbon imprint. So, thanks a lot. And I think we did meet before, I don't know when. Yeah.
Well, thank you very much for your presentation, and really, I think of Port Hawkesbury in the last, Port Hawkesbury paper has really come a long ways in the last 10 years, I guess, 9-10 years since you came into Point Tupper, and you know, it's from a commercial taxation. We're very envious of having those industries in municipalities and the impact they do have. And not only that, the leadership you're now showing with green energy, it's phenomenal the amount of energy you use, and now you're finding your own solutions to offset some of those costs for the benefit of the province, really, and for all users of power. So I want to thank you very much. It's nice to see you again, Andrew. It's nice to meet you this evening, and we want to thank you very much for your presentation.
Much for the opportunity.
Yes, thank you for the time. It's nice to get out of the office again.
See you again. Thanks a lot. Next item on the agenda this evening is the minutes from our last council session. They have been circulated to you. You've had a chance to review them. Are there any errors or omissions in those minutes? Hearing none, do we have a motion to accept those minutes, please? Moved by the Deputy Warden. Do we have a seconder, please? Seconded by Councillor Longva. Thank you. All in favor? Contrary minded? The motion is carried. The minutes are approved. And is there any old business? I will turn it over to Leanne, and if anybody has any other questions or comments in regards to old business, we'll entertain them after she makes her comments. Thanks.
Great. So yeah, I just have a few things to bring up. On the Ishkaban Falls, the tenders, I found out that the tenders have been put out for gravel on the main trail. There was nothing new on the closed sections, but they are moving forward on the second. They're going to move forward on the second section. I think I heard there was a tender out, but last that I heard, there was nothing at this point. On the Police Advisory Committee, I contacted Department of Justice. They told me that they couldn't assign anyone until after the election. So maybe now, after the election, we will find out if we can have a police advisory committee. We're waiting on the representative from the province, even though we have that person assigned. So still waiting on that. We've sent a request to Cape Breton Victoria Regional Centre for Education to come to council. They will be coming on September 20th in relation to the rural busing issues. We had a request, which we were speaking about at our last council session, related to the gateway funding. We were going to discuss it at our budget meeting in July, but I don't believe that we did. The request was anything up to $5,000, wondering if council is in agreement in any number. So it might be something that you might want to think about for a minute and see if there's some funding towards the gateway funding project that Cape Breton Partnership had the official ask for. A couple of other things in Ganesh Land, there was a request to have the surveys done. We have the go-ahead. The surveyor will get to that as soon as they can. There is probably quite a bit of work to that one, but they've been quote on it, so we forward with that. And just to let everyone know that we did send the email to the HART, for the HART tool, the Housing Assessment Resource Tool, which was the at last council session, and we are going to be part of that project that they have going ahead. One other thing in old business, so we had a meeting earlier today related to Public Works and tipping fees and possible scale, portable scale down at the transfer station in Dingwall. We will not be moving forward with a scale at that location, but we've been monitoring business views about tipping fees, and what we're hearing is that some businesses are finding the lack of an independent contractor and a large missing link in getting their business waste to our sites. And we know that it's a far distance for some of these to travel to the locations. Since that piece of infrastructure is not in place at the time being, we've asked staff to review how other municipalities in Nova Scotia, and those across the country, actually deal with this type of problem, and if it's a problem anywhere else. So we are going to look into a fee-based option and hopefully find something that is innovative, easy to comply with, and cost-effective to help businesses with their excess bag problem. And once staff have come up with some options, we may undertake a pilot project to fill this void in the short term. And I expect to have an update on that by our next council meeting related to our go-forward steps. So that's what I have for old business.
Thank you very much. Any questions or comments in regards to the old business as presented by the CAO? Do you have, as individual councillors, any old business that you would like to bring up at this time? We're good. Thank you very much. Thank you, Leanne. We're going to move on to new business, and that is going to be provided by the CAO.
Great. So just to give you an update on some of the departments that the department goings-on that have been happening. So in senior safety, Cassandra has sent out an email to all of you related to the Good Food Bus and possible locations. So the Good Food Bus is narrowing down the locations. They can't guarantee any of them, but they're going to try to accommodate as many as possible. So just because you sent in an idea of a spot, it's a great idea, just can't guarantee that that's going to happen. So we'll do as many as we can, or they said that they will do as many as they can. There were some concerns coming in for seniors in hotter weather, and it seems like it's probably a growing trend of where we are at with climate change. So she has been putting together some cooling down tips and posting them on her Facebook page and getting the information out. She and Jocelyn have also spoke to Sonia at Clean Foundation, RIA home warming program, which is efficiency rebates to upgrade homes. And Sonia and Jocelyn and Cassandra, and actually a new gentleman, Kevin McCormack, are now planning some info sessions for around the county to help any residents, but particularly seniors, with filling out the actual application for the home warming program. So there'll be some more news coming out about those. In our finance department, so just to let you know, we talked about this a couple of weeks ago, some issues that we had on some properties that didn't seem to be assessed with PBSC. So we have sent off that information for all locations around the county. So we are hopefully going to be building up our assessment base and applying more tax to those who do not have an assessment number currently. We also have to schedule a meeting related to the property tax exemption for not-for-profit societies. And Alex will be sending out a Zoom request for a meeting on that. She's also working on year-end and year-end reports. Just to let you know, Amy's last day was Thursday of last week, so she's no longer with us. Lydia in Recreation and Active Living. The Moby mats have been installed in Warren Lake and Freshwater Lake, getting great reviews from folks down there that have been using them. In relation to her step challenge that she has, there's 100 people that are signed up right now, so she thinks that's great participation, so that's wonderful. She has also been helping with the placemaking sessions. They are ongoing. There's one tomorrow happening at the Indian Brook Fire Hall. She's also helping tourism with the trails, and trails are now in the survey stage. There's some sections that have been started and making some strides with trails. She's also working on a gender equity initiative with Cape Smoky to get more females skiing. Something else that she's working on is the Active Smarter Kids Training, which is a school pilot project, and working on getting more physical activity happening in schools. And she's also confirming and nailing down some dates for Bay St. Lawrence for mental health first aid training down there. So that should be happening soon in the fall. That was after fishing season was supposed to be over. In Public Works, so again, we're hearing a lot about tipping fees. We're working on a solution for the excess bags that we're hearing about on commercial, for commercial customers. We're also hearing some issues on shared boxes, and we're getting to know really quickly all the people that have been sharing boxes around the county. So if you are someone who is sharing a box, please get in touch with Kelly and she can add you to the spreadsheet so that we know how many are at each location. Heavy garbage is set to start September 27th. Please note there is a holiday in there on September 30th, so we will not be working on September 30th, but heavy garbage will resume after that. They're also working on a lead sampling program within the water system. Keep checking our website for more info if you want to be part of it. Down at Parks, there's a water tank that's getting inspected, and we've taken over water operations at the park, and I think it's going quite well. The Ingonish lands, as I spoke about earlier, Lester will start on the surveys as soon as possible. And as we noted earlier at the Public Works meeting, we have made a land purchase application for provincial land for a new potential transfer site down north. So that has gone in at this point. If I move to Dan's department, tourism. So Dan has been speaking with some groups currently about a Bedeck branding initiative. And he's been going around getting some feelings from the operators on how they're feeling about tourism and where it's at. A lot of them are feeling a little bit more optimistic about the numbers that they're seeing lately, but all seem to have the same common theme that there's labor issues. So we have to work on getting more people working, getting our operators up and running at full capacity. Just to let everyone know, as I'm sure you do, the gondola is set to open soon, and it's causing quite a buzz down in the northern communities. Dan also, this is really cool, this one. Dan is in discussions with Global News to do a national and their morning broadcast from the waterfront down here. So it's now narrowed down to between Bedeck and Halifax. And so we're pushing on getting a live broadcast here for the first week of September. So hopefully we'll hear something on that soon. Also, there was a placemaking session that happened down in Dingwall. It went very well. There was a good presence at that. And again, the one tomorrow scheduled for Indian Brook Community Hall in St. Anne's. Just a couple of other things. Heavy garbage, again, September 27th start. There has been a fencing request for proposal that has gone around and has been awarded. And so there should be fences going around our water towers. And one thing that happened last week, I got a quite substantial bill from Nova Scotia Power related to the streetlight changeovers that happened in the last 2 to 3 years, I would say. They went from sodium lights to the LED lights. And so for the asset recovery cost, it was mandated through UARB that we get billed for the street lights that we have. So remember all those requests you've all made for street lights to a year? We now are paying a capital cost related to those street lights. So one thing that I want to do is I want to sit down with our streetlight policy that we have and come up with something possibly new and put some more parameters around how we give out our streetlights. Currently, there are 1,809 streetlights in Victoria County. Yep. What's that?
So Leanne, please go.
Sorry, one at a time, please.
Has the UARB made a ruling, or they just
Yeah.
taken?
Yes, they have. It's in 2020.
They're saving money.
Yep.
We should be getting a rebate back.
Well,
instead of paying.
well, we have gotten, so our bill has substantially dropped for electricity on those streetlights. So yes, we have had significant savings, but it was news to me that we were getting this bill. So I'm in discussions with them right now related to it.
Go ahead, Councillor McNeil.
At the time when they came out with this program of changing the streetlights, that question was asked, I think, in this council. Would it be any cost to the payers? And they said no. So I'm pretty sure that was asked. At this
I'm taking
council.
it around to the rest of the province to see where we're at, because I think we should have a united front on this. And so I haven't paid the bill yet. So we're in discussions. But it started, I believe, back in 2012, the first presentation related to this and how this was going to be rolled out, and the savings and the light changing and all those types of things. So.
Warden, I think we should do one of two things. We should invite Nova Scotia Power, because they do come occasionally, to explain the reasoning for this. And as Councillor Menil just said, you know, the question was asked before and they said no. Secondly, or with that, writing a letter to the local people, I think, or maybe even the president, I'm not sure, you know, explaining that this is just handing on a cost to municipalities when you're actually saving money. You know, they're the ones that are putting these more efficient lights in. And so is it back billed? We have to pay for all the ones they've already installed?
Yep.
Are you serious? Because what they would do, as far as I could see, when a street belt went out, they would replace it with one of these high efficiency ones.
They are, yeah. So, again, I've received some correspondence that apparently went out to municipalities in 2012, that I have information that this was happening. There was supposed to be a communication of how they were expecting to recoup their costs in 2020, but the first that we heard of it was this year. So I'm not paying it yet.
I'd like to
getting more
move that we
information.
instruct the CAO to explore avenues of getting more information on this situation, either by writing a letter, meeting with the local people, or to the NSFM too. If it's affecting all municipalities, it's a province-wide
Yep.
issue. You know, at least those explore the possibilities of getting more information and voicing our disapproval of this payment we're expected to make. So I'd like to make that a motion, please.
And that is a motion made by Councillor Patterson. Do we have a seconder for that motion, please? Seconded by Councillor McNeil. All in favor? Contrary minded? Motion is carried. We'll ask CAO to contact Nova Scotia Power for an update on how they come up with the costs for the redoing those new lights. Thank you.
Warden, one other question.
Sure.
Like, did they do a survey on what streetlights they own and the municipality own?
I've asked for a detailed list of where the
Oh.
lights are.
Okay.
They don't have it right now.
Because they never could give us a list
No.
in prior years.
It's one of my asks.
Thank you.
There is a history around the ownership of streetlights in Victoria County.
Warden, just one other question on that too. You say you received the bill, yeah?
Yes,
How much?
34,000.
All right, we had the motion. We are moving on. Anything else in your report?
No.
that you? Any questions or concerns about, yes, Councillor McDonald, in regards to CAO's report?
I'm just wondering, you said in regard to heavy garbage,
Yes.
will that be tendered out, or will the county be taking that upon
So
themselves?
south, it is county staff, and north, I believe right now it is county staff as well.
Thank
No, is it tendered out? Oh, okay. Okay. So I'm not 100% sure. I will check on that, on the north section.
Anything else in regards to the new business as provided by the CAO? Just for those folks that are maybe joining us, we had the second reading of our deed transfer tax, increasing the deed transfer tax from 1% to 1.5 at a public hearing. So we will be dealing with that a little later in the agenda this evening. So, thank you. The only other item, just before we take a break, CAO mentioned about the $5,000 contribution to the work at the Strait of Port Hawkesbury that's been recommended by the Cape Breton Partnership. What's council's thoughts with that? Yes, sir.
So they have all been asked for a 5,000 contribution. And to date, they had not received any word back on that many of them yet.
So what's council wishes? Do you wish to let this go until September, or do you wish to make a decision to contribute this evening?
I'm not sure of the amount,
Up to 5,000.
So what I can do is I can keep polling the other asked municipalities, and then we could match what the rest are doing.
Thank you, Deputy Warden. Do we have a seconder, please? Councillor McDonald is seconded. All in favor? Contrary minded? Motion is carried. And I guess it's thank you for that, Deputy Warden, because if we're not a contributor, then we're probably not a participator. So, I think it's a good investment for the future of what their work may be done, and we don't know how that may or may not change since the election, and there'll be new ministers and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So, better to be in early. All right, we're going to take a 10 to 15 minute break, recess, and we will reconvene in approximately 15 minutes. Thank you. Session. Thank you. We are reconvening the Victoria County Municipal Council meeting for Monday, August 23rd to order. Our next item up on the agenda is the taxation update, and that's going to be provided by the CAO. Please.
Yeah, so for our tax update. So as you all know, we have sent our bills out. As of today, we have 7.151 million outstanding compared to 6.876 this time last year. So we're behind by about $275,000. However, we were about 2 weeks later sending our bills out, and there's usually a mad rush to get in at near due date. So our due date this year is September 15th. We are putting some ads in the paper to remind everyone of their duty to pay their taxes. So included in that 7.151 million, we have a current outstanding of 6.6 million compared to 6 million at this time last year. So we're behind in our current by 542,000, but you know that will catch up because as we get closer to our due date. What's really interesting and shows the work that's been done is that our arrears are continuing to show improvement. So they're $267,000 better this year than they were last year. So we have 559,000 outstanding in arrears compared to 826 at this time last year. So efforts are really going into this, and it's really paying off. We met with our legal team this week. We are scheduled to have our next tax sale on December 7th. So that will be the next date when we have it. And then we will be gearing up for another tax sale probably mid-January. And since the bills went out on July 14th, we have actually collected $2.42 million. So the girls downstairs have been, and Shane, so our staff downstairs have been extremely busy, and along with that, collecting arrears as well. So really great to see.
Any questions or comments for the CAO in regards to the taxation update this evening? We're good? Thank you very much, Leanne. Going to move on to Department of Transportation items or concerns, and we'll start with Councillor Longba, please.
First, I'd like to thank Steve McDonald and his crews for the hidden driveway sign they put on the Bay Road that I asked for, and also for all the road work that's happening in Englishtown. The Kiad Mila Facha sign on the hill at the Gaelic College hasn't been replaced, and it's looking very worn out, and we are in the middle of our tourist season. Also, I just wanted to say for the constituents on the Old Big Harbor Road and Plaster Mines that the ball is now in my court, and I will be in touch with all the constituents on that road soon, and then you should be getting a new sign shortly after that. The existing Plaster Mine sign coming both ways is covered by overgrowth, as all the roadsides and ditches in District 4 need to be cut back desperately, as it's very dangerous for wild animals coming on the road, and also it's very poor visibility when pulling out of driveways. And that's it for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Good report. Councillor MacLeod, District number 2.
Yes, just got one. It's a loose gravel in Big Bedek Road with the stop sign. And it's one in Campbell Street in the stop sign as well. That is reported in for Steve, but just want to put it in the minutes, just for our record. Thank you.
Thank you for your report, Councillor. Councillor McNeil, anything in District 1, please?
Thank you, Warden. I was in touch with Steve on all of these, but I just want to let everybody know, like, there's still no mowing and cutting in the area. Patchwork has to be done from Little Nares Ferry right to Washabuk. It's getting in bad shape. And also the boards are lifting in the bridge at the St. Columba turnoff in Washabuk. And it has to be addressed right away. Actually, one board could be struck by a low car if it's not fixed pretty soon. So that's it.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor McDonald, District 8.
Yes, thank you, Warden. Just a few, had a call for, I guess, asking for some gravel down on the Shore Road, which is in South Harbour there. There's a business down at the end of that, a hideaway campground, and it's a pretty busy location. They were looking for more gravel to go on to that road, and was in contact with Steve McDonald through email to find out if that road actually belongs to highways, and he responded back and said that he would converse with supervisor in the area to see what they could do with that. And I'd like to thank TIR for doing some long-awaited work in District 8. The brush cutter was in the area. I'm not really sure what was done. I haven't been out and about. And that's it for District 8. But I'd just like to acknowledge the retirement of one of TIR's workers, 34 years, a gentleman by the name of Bruce Courtney, who was actually my neighbor. And Bruce, after 34 years, has hung up his keys, so to speak, with TIR. So I wish him all the best in his future. And that's it for TIR this evening.
Thank you very much, Councillor McDonald. Deputy Warden Daphne, any concerns, please?
Yes, thank you, Warden. Just one item under TIR. There's been a lot of reports of the look-off on Smoky. The new look-off that was built, there was some subsidence and cracking in the pavement, and doesn't look the best, let's put it that way. But both Lyle, our emergency measures coordinator, has been in touch with Department of Transportation, and I've been in touch with Steve previously also. We did hear today that they have a plan in place how to repair it. It's just gone out for costing. From their engineers, they're saying it is safe at this time, and there is no impact on the Cabot Trail or anything like that. It's just on the outer side of the look-off itself. But they are aware of it, and work is being done to repair it. Just want to make a notice of that. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Warden. Councillor Patterson, any...
Thank you, Warden. Just a concern that was expressed to me. The Ross Ferry Farm Market for the last 2 years has changed their method of operation, and they are selling their wares or goods at the end of their driveways. So some of the vendors are on the north side of Bulladree and others are on the south side of Bulladree. And most people come in through exit 13 by the highway garage and make the cycle or make the route they want to take. You can go around Kent Head, but it's not very passable at this time of year. But there are two crossroads. One is the Steeles Cross, which is paved, but it's in bad shape. And the other one is the Matheson Road, which is a dirt road. And this vendor was telling me from the south side that some of the people don't come over to the south side because of the condition of the road, or if they do go over, they have a lot of complaints about the condition of the road. So to sum it up, I guess if some work could be done on the Matheson Road and or the Steeles Cross Road, it would be appreciated.
Thank you, Councillor. Duly noted. I don't have any TIR concerns tonight for District 3. Are there any motions, notice of motions this evening? Good, thank you. We're going to move on to district concerns, and we'll start with district number 8.
Yes, thank you. There were no concerns, really. I just wanted to mention that the Crab Fest in Bay St. Lawrence went over with a lot of enthusiasm. They had their first annual parade of boats at Bay St. Lawrence, where all the boats had lit up and went out into the harbour and come back, and it was very well attended by community and tourists about. And yesterday I had the opportunity to go up and attend the first annual Lions Club Family Fun Fest, and they had that in Ulster Morrison's field there beside Morrison's restaurant, and it was extremely well attended, and it was great weather, and I just wanted to mention that for District 8.
Thank you for your report, sir. Deputy Warden Daphne.
Yes, thank you, Warden. Just two things. First, I'd like to make a motion that we send a letter of congratulations to both MLA Keith Bain, who's been re-elected, and our Premier-elect Tim Houston. So I'd like to make that a motion.
We have a motion. Do we have a second? Seconded by Councillor Patterson. All in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded? Motion is carried. Thank you.
And second, I'd like to make a motion that a letter be sent to MLA Bain and Premier-elect Houston again, this time in regards to protected areas in the province of Nova Scotia, where the Premier has noted that he'd like to see 20% of lands protected in the province. Would like to request from both the MLA and the Premier that once the Ministers of Natural Resources and Environment are put in place, we'd request a meeting with them ASAP to discuss the enormous amount of lands already protected in Victoria County, and that we've done our fair share in this time for other areas of the province to step up. I make that a motion.
Thank you very much. Well said. Do we have a seconder for that, please? Seconded by Councillor McNeil. All in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded? Motion's carried. The letter will be sent.
Just a little amendment there also. I was wondering, can we include the letter, I believe it was from Minister Miller back in 2012? I think, Steph, you may have that. If not, I do have it, where they already agreed that they would not protect the lands in Victoria County. If that could be sent with that, would be appreciated.
We will send that. It will be enclosed with the letter. Thank you. Good
And
point.
that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Warden. Councillor Patterson.
Thank you. I just want to mention one thing. I want to congratulate a group of residents in District 5 who are starting, actually today, a summer music camp, the Ross Ferry Summer Music Camp. I think it's a great thing to get the children finally back socializing with other than a machine or a TV or their parents, and I'm wishing them great success. I'm proud to say I was able to support them through my district budget, and again, more initiatives like this, I think, will make our communities better. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your comments, Councillor. Councillor McNeil, any district concerns tonight?
Thank you, Warden. Yeah, there's a couple. The Highland Village is looking for a letter of support from the county to help with applications to foundations for fundraising purposes. Basically indicating the importance of the village to the economy of Cape Breton and a major employer and tourism draw. Also, Rodney at the Highland Village would like to present to council on the big project that's underway at the site. So he's looking at October if that's possible. So I'll tell him to get in touch with our CAO or Steph.
Sorry, you had a motion on the floor before you.
Oh yeah, if we could,
letter of support.
Yeah, have that letter
Sorry,
of
just so we
support.
do-
I'll make that a motion.
Okay, that has a motion. Do we have a seconder for that, please? Seconded by Councillor McLeod. All in favor?
All right.
Contrary minded? Motion is carried. Thank you.
Also, I'm continuing to hear a lot of concerns from residents over the school bus policy for rural areas. It's good that the school board is coming here in September. Rankin School of the Nares had a meeting with the principal this morning and a few other people. They're looking to put a roof over the rink in Iona, and they would like a meeting with their tourism director and their recreation director, and also Larry Maxwell. They'll be this, but I just wanted to bring it up to council. And I'd like to thank all who participated in the placemaking session at the Port in Iona, and thank you to all the staff for hosting and accommodating to the people. So,
Thank you, Councillor. And Leanne, please direct our councillors' thanks and appreciations to staff for a job well done. Thank you. Councillor McLeod, anything?
Thank you. I know in September the school board will come. I just want to send a letter before they come. It's about Better Academy School. We have the parking lot from the buses, and it's in very, very bad shape. Like it's very deep,
Yep.
all the potholes. So if they want to give us the timeline about that. And it's another, the road goes from going to the water with the sewer.
Yes.
I was talking with them. They didn't know who owns that road, the village or the school, because it's when you go down to the garage, it's that road. It's the same. It's in very bad shape. So I wonder who is the.
We can find out who's,
And will be the same message. They need to be if they can fix it.
Fix it.
And for the school in the top, I think a couple months I asked for a concern about the parking lot. When the buses go up, it's all gravel in bad shape. I think the village was, and we were still waiting for if they can pave or fix it because it's very bad. It looks very bad.
Okay.
And the second came to my attention about the ambulance and I wonder if some research and if I can invite the Cape Breton manager, Jason Halpert, from EHS, to come to council to give us an update. What is the situation? And because it's getting out of the hand, and just a conversation to understand what's going on, and maybe we can help. But there's some questions that we would like to ask to start this process. And we can invite MLA Keith Bain too to be part of the conversation to see what's going on. And yeah, that's it.
Okay, we probably should have that in the form of a motion.
I make a motion for a letter for MLA Keith Bain and the Cape Breton manager Jason Halpert, or whatever is in charge for Cape Breton for the HESS.
Great.
Thank you.
Good point. Do we have a seconder for that, please? Seconded by Councillor Longville. In favor? Contrary minded? Motion is carried. Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Longville.
I just had a happy story first about EHS thing that happened to one of my in-laws. Had a stroke, and the ambulance was there within 4 minutes and had her at the hospital within 5 minutes and was into surgery and saved her life. So it was a really good response. And in this community, I'd like to thank or recognize Cale Morrison for his act of bravery last week when he came to the assistance of an elderly woman who was in trouble in waters in Margaree. He came to help her and called for people on the shore, and he stayed with her until they arrived. And I'd like to request that the county maybe recognize this selfless act of courage and kindness in some way, maybe write a letter. His parents are Vaughn and Amanda Morrison. Should I make a motion on that? Or?
You can, yes.
I'd like to make a motion that we write a letter to Cale Morrison to recognize his bravery in saving the lady.
We just need a seconder for that. Seconded by Deputy Warden. All in favor? Contrary minded? Motion is carried. Thank you.
It was brought to my attention while I was kayaking off Bedeck Bay that a place called Hurricane Hole, the sandbar is washed out to a width of approximately 30 feet and is extremely shallow. I scraped with the kayak going through there, and I thought this could be a real hazard to power boaters who aren't familiar with the area. And I'd like to make a motion that this be brought to the attention of the appropriate authorities.
We can do that. I'm not sure who it is, but we'll find out. But I know the area that you're referring to, and perhaps there should be a marker of some kind indicating that that's been breached.
Yeah, it looks like you could just go in there, but it is really shallow.
Just in the last couple of years that's been breached.
And I'd also like to make a motion to have $500 from my district budget be sent to SABDA to help with their newcomer initiatives that they're doing. Well, it's through the Time Bank and SABDA, but the check would go to SABDA.
Okay, you don't need a motion for
I don't
that,
need
but
a
we'll
motion.
capture it in the minutes. If it's over $1,000, you need a motion, but we'll just capture it in the minutes.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you. That's it for me.
Thank. Which one? To the appropriate authority.
Yeah.
That's a motion. Sorry, my mistake.
I make a motion that a letter be written to the appropriate people about the shallow water in Bedeck Bay.
Perfect. Do we have a seconder for that, please? Seconded by Councillor McNeil. All in favor? Contrary minded? Motion is carried. Thank you very much. I have three things, four things actually. One of them, Councillor MacLeod spoke very well to it earlier. I've also received concerns about ambulatory service in this province, and I absolutely agree with Councillor MacLeod that we're certainly seeing that people's lives are at risk because ambulances can't get to two locations within safe time. So I would just like to add on that we send that letter not only to the individual that's responsible for ambulance service in Cape Breton, but to Charbel Daniel, Executive Director of Provincial Ground Operations, and Jen Jensen, Executive Director of Medical Communications and Patient Flow Systems. They're both with EHS, so if it's okay with you, we could add them onto the letter. And I think you mentioned Keith Bain. Yep. And the probably the incoming Premier, because he made healthcare his #1 priority, so I think we should bring it to his attention as well, if that's okay with you. Yeah, great, thanks. We received, I received correspondence that we were asked to make a proclamation for Bullying Elimination Week, and this is for September 20th to 26th. I'm not going to read it, but I would like to make a motion that we proclaim the week of September 20th to 26th as Bullying Elimination Week in Victoria County, and I'll sign the appropriate document and we'll put it on the website. So I'd like to make that a motion, please.
We have a motion on the floor. Do we have a seconder? Second by Councillor MacLeod. All in favor? Aye. Contrary minded? Motion passed.
And kind of in keeping with that, we also did receive a similar request, but this was for fetal alcohol spectrum disorder, and there is a proclamation that they would like to proclaim September 6th to September 10th as Fetal Alcohol Spectrum Disorder Week, and they asked if we would proclaim it in Victoria County, so I'd like to make a motion that we proclaim the week of September 6th to 10th as Fetal Alcohol Spectrum Disorder. It affects 1.45 million Canadians. So I'd like to make that a motion, please.
Seconder for that motion? Second by Councillor MacLeod. All in favor? Contrary minded? Motion passed.
And just finally and very briefly, I did receive this afternoon a letter from Susan DeFure. She's a representative of BOLD in the Bedeque Bay Hospital Auxiliary, and Judy King, who's also a BOLD member, as we know, of the organization across the street. And they just want to let you know the appreciation of our facility staff. They were on site to help them prep and insisting helping them carrying and arranging the contents of the reuse building. So they had the facility for the month, and they were just passing along good wishes for the assistance they received from our staff out at the solid waste facility. So I just wanted to bring that into council and asked her to send it to me, and that we would formally recognize our staff for a job well done assisting a community group. So I will pass that on to the CAO, and maybe we can, I'll send you the electronic version and we can post that as well. So that's nice, and we want to thank Sue and Judy King for providing those complimentary comments to our staff. It's nice to receive, and they're most deserving, I'm sure. Those are my district concerns. The next item on the agenda is bylaw, and we had a public hearing at 10 to 5 this afternoon for the second reading, and Council has recommended to the approval of the second reading of the deed transfer tax, which increases Victoria County's deed transfer tax from 1% to 1.5%. That was a motion or recommendation from the hearing this afternoon, but we need a formal motion from council to adopt or to pass the second reading of the deed transfer tax bylaw. So we have a motion for that, please. Moved. We have a seconder, please. Moved by the Deputy Warden, second by Councillor Longville. All in favour? Contrary minded? Motion is carried. The second reading has been approved for the deed transfer tax. Excuse me. Do we have any correspondence to come to Council tonight?
All correspondence has been forwarded on to you.
Thank you very much. Any questions about the correspondence you received from the CAO this last month? Very good. Thank you for sending it. Thank you, Steph, for sending it as well. Are there any questions? We are having an in-camera session coming up, but are there any questions before we go to the public? Yes, Councillor
Yeah,
McLeod.
I see it's not committee report, so I just want to ask the Victoria County Transit Committee if we can meet in September 20th before council around, I don't know, 3 o'clock? It is okay?
Good, thank you, councillors. September 20th, then we will be notified of that meeting, and we'll
Yeah.
meet at 3 o'clock.
Can you notify Cassandra? I think she has to. Thank you.
Anything else to come to council before we open it? If there are any questions from the public that are joining us this evening. Any questions, Garrett? Jocelyn, nothing? We're good? Okay. We need a motion to move in camera, and I will have to ask those people that are joining us. And again, thanks for coming and introducing yourself this evening. It's our pleasure to meet you. Very good. And we're going to have to clear the courtroom. I need a motion to move into camera, please. Into in camera. Moved by Councillor McNeil, seconded by Councillor McDonald. All in favor? Contrary minded? Motion's carried. We are in camera, so we're just going to secure